Welcome to the Activated Story Theater's 149th podcast.
This episode, we bring you Anansi and the Story Box, a story from Ghana.
Hi, I'm Dennis.
And I'm Kimberly.
And together we are the Activated Actors!
We are coming to you from Reno, Nevada, where we're putting together a new show. We are so excited. It's going to be opening. It is going to be opening in May. And then it'll be touring all over the country from June, July, August, September, October, November, December to January, February, March, and April, and next May.
Yes, in May we have only private shows at schools in Los Angeles and Albuquerque.
Well, we have a bunch of public shows coming up in June, July, and August.
Oh, do we ever. One of our busiest summers ever.
We have 60 shows so far this summer, and so surely there'll be one at a library near you. We'll give you a brief rundown of the schedule after we tell you our story. But there are going to be shows in Arkansas, North Carolina, Delaware, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania this year.
We're going to be doing one of the Anansi stories this summer,
But it'll be Anansi Goes Fishing.
Yes, different story from what we're doing today, but that's one reason we wanted to do this one today. And since we last talked to you, we've been back to San Francisco, back to the Bay Area.
And we explore some territory that we haven't explored before.
Out at Land's End by Ocean Beach in San Francisco, there is a really nice hiking trail that we've never done before, and we did it this time.
It was a beautiful little trail, and you get a great view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Amazing to think that you're in a city with a hiking trail of that caliber right there in San Francisco.
Yes, I highly recommend it anytime you're there and you feel like taking a hike and getting away from the city.
We also got to take a choo-choo train.
The Niles Canyon Railway, which goes between Sunol, California and Fremont, California.
And it's like taking a little train ride museum. It's like taking a museum on wheels back in time.
Yes. They operate steam trains and diesel trains along that route that used to be very popular back in the old days.
Well, it was part of the Transcontinental Railroad.
Yes.
Very first train tracks laid across the whole country.
One of the endpoints is the Niles district of Fremont, and a lot of people don't realize it, but that was the early home of silent movie making, where Charlie Chaplin and other people had their studios set up. Ooh. Before Hollywood became the big thing.
But you know what? Our listeners know that.
I'm sure they do.
They listen to us. So we've been having some fun in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're now in Reno, putting together our new show. Lots of sewing going on, lots of creating, lots of painting, and getting things ready for the brand new tour. We've got some programs coming up, like I said, and we'll tell you about those in just a minute. But I know everybody is waiting for the story. So shall we tell the story?
Let's tell the story.
All right. This story comes from Ghana.
In Africa.
Anansi and the Story Box. Long ago in Ghana, the Ashanti people had no stories to keep them entertained and make them wise. They didn't even know what stories were. Not even Anansi, the legendary Spider-Man. Oh, I'm really bored today. There's nothing to keep me entertained. I think I'll try climbing up into the sky and visit the gods. Surely it's more exciting up there than it is down here. So he slung his long web up into the sky and climbed up to the home of the gods. Wow, it's really cool up here. So many gods running around playing games and feasting and doing yoga, and wow, it looks like a lot more fun than crawling through the weeds. As he explored the land of the gods, he saw Naomi, the chief god, who always kept a strange wooden box next to him. He stopped one of the other gods and asked, excuse me, but what's in that box that Naomi keeps with him?
You must be a stranger around here. What kind of god are you, anyway?
I'm the god of, dancing. Yeah, that's why I have 8 legs. Yeah, that's it.
Ah, I see.
So, what's in the box, huh?
You haven't heard the rumor? They say he keeps stories in that box.
Oh, I wish I had some stories. I'm really hungry, and a fresh, ripe story would really go down well.
Yeah, right. I think you must actually be the god of nonsense. Excuse me.
He stayed among the gods for several days and kept noticing that Naomi was guarding that box, and nobody knew what was in it, except maybe that it had stories in it, or whatever stories were. He wondered if maybe stories weren't something valuable, like jewels, or maybe they were dangerous critters like crocodiles. But the more he thought about it, the more he knew. He just had to know. So finally, he worked up the nerve to go up to Naomi and ask him, excuse me, sir, but could I buy that box from you?
No.
Oh, okay. And Anansi scurried away frightened. But he couldn't stop thinking about that box. So, a few days later, he worked up the nerve to go back to Naomi, and he said, excuse me, sir, but I was wondering, could I buy that box now?
No.
I was afraid of that. And so he went several more times until finally Naomi thought,
I'd better do something to get rid of this little 8-footed pest.
So the next time Anansi came back and said, pardon me for disturbing you again, sir, but could I please buy that box?
Why, of course you can.
Okay, sorry to bother you. I know you must be really busy. Did you say yes?
That's right.
Oh, goody. Oh, how much do you want for it? I can pay you 37 flies and half a dozen beetles.
Not so fast. I have my own price. For this box of stories, you must pay me a python, a lion, a hornet's nest full of hornets, and a jungle fairy.
Well, that's 4 things. Haven't you ever heard of the rule of 3?
I'm the head god. I make my own rules.
Oh, yes, of course. But those things really might not be easy to catch, especially those devious little jungle fairies.
That's my price. Take it or leave it.
Oh, very well. It's a deal.
Good. That will get rid of this little bug gobbler once and for all.
But Anansi was a clever trickster. So he went back down to the jungle and he picked up a good long walking stick and carried it around until he came across a python. Oh, good morning, Mr.
Monty's the name.
Yes. And may I ask you, what kind of creature are you?
I'm a python, of course.
You're a python? I never would have believed it because I expected a python to be much longer.
Huh?
Yes, you see, a friend of mine told me that you were as long as this stick, but I knew he was mistaken. No snake could possibly be this long.
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, don't be silly. It isn't possible.
But I am, I tell you. That stick is nowhere near being a snake long. Just lay it down, and I'll stretch out next to it. I'll show you.
Well, if it's not too much trouble. So the snake stretched out beside the stick, and Anansi very quickly spun his web, wrapping it around the snake and the stick.
Hey, what's the big idea? I don't need a splint. I only cause injuries. I don't get them.
And Anansi carried the snake up to Naomi and said, "Here's the first one. I'll be back."
Ugh.
And he went back down to the jungle. He decided to try for the lion next. He got a big bag, and he carried it out to where the lion was lounging in the sun. "Oh, good day, Mr. Lion."
What do you want, you little tree crab?
"Well, I just had a bet with a friend of mine who said you couldn't possibly fit in this bag. I told him you could do it, but he just wouldn't believe me. Tell you what, if you'll show me that you can do it, I'll split the bet with you."
You need to get some smarter friends if they don't believe I can do an easy little thing like that. Let me see that bag. Here, this is how easy it is for me to get into something like that.
And the lion squeezed into the bag, after which Anansi tied it up and carried it up to Naomi. "Here you are, sir. The cat's into the bag now. That's the second one. I'll be back." So he decided to go for the hornets next. He took along with him a gourd full of water, and he carried it up into the tree above the hornet's nest and dumped all of the water onto the hornets. Well, let me tell you, those wet hornets were as mad as wet hornets. They buzzed out of their nest in confusion, trying to figure out where all the water had come from and where they could find a beach towel. Anansi zipped down on a strand of his net like he'd seen a man in the jungle swing on a vine. And he said to the hornets, "Hey, friends, that storm came up suddenly, didn't it? And I hear there's even more on the way. Looks like your nest got flooded. I hope you have good nest owner's insurance. Hey, tell you what, I've got a gourd here that's waterproof. You're welcome to use it as an emergency homeless shelter until the storm passes. No charge." And then Anansi quickly spun his web and wrapped up the gourd with the hornets inside. And he carried it up to Naomi. "That's the third one. I'll be back." And Anansi went back down to the earth to face the most difficult task of all, capturing one of the mischievous jungle fairies, who got very angry whenever anybody was rude to them. And I guess trying to capture one might be considered a bit rude, huh? You got it. Oh, and did I mention they were invisible? Thanks. I needed the confidence booster. The fairies were very clever. They roamed through the country doing mischief, like souring milk and rusting knives and misplacing shoes and hiding shadows on cloudy days. They were impossible to catch, but Anansi was a clever trickster himself, or else we wouldn't have a story. Whatever that is. And he had an idea. He made a little doll out of straw, and he covered it from head to foot with a sticky gum from a gum tree. And he set it out where a fairy might see it, and he hid in the bushes. Before long, he heard an invisible voice.
"You there? Who are you, and how dare you stand in my path? Didn't you hear me? I asked you who you are. Oh, you want to be rude, huh? Well, I get angry when people are rude. All I have to do is lay my invisible hand on you and... Hey, let go of my hand. Let go, I said. All right, you asked for it. Ow, let go of my foot.
Well, I can't see her, but I don't think my sticky Barbie is dancing by itself. I've got the fairy in my trap. So he jumped out of the bushes and wrapped up the fairy and the straw doll in his web.
Hey, stop that. You're being very rude, you know.
And so Anansi took the last item, a thrashing and struggling invisible item, up to Naomi. "Here you are, sir. I brought you the last thing you requested."
Yes, so you did.
"So, if I may ask, what do you intend to do with them?"
Oh, I'm going to let them go, of course. I believe in catch and release.
"As you please, sir, but since I brought them as you asked, may I please have the story box now?"
Well, the thing is, you've put me in a bind. I never expected you to be able to bring any of these things, much less all of them. I never really intended to give up my story box. How about I give you something else instead? Maybe a shiny new thunderbolt, or a rainbow with a pot of gold on it, or your very own constellation.
Nope, sorry. Only thing I want is the box of stories.
Oh, why did I ever agree to give it to you? Well, a deal is a deal. Take it, and don't ever come back up here again.
Maybe I won't need to, now that I have a box of stories, whatever they are. So Anansi took the box of stories back down to the jungle, and he very carefully opened it up. And all of the stories went flying out everywhere. Happy stories, sad stories, funny stories, scary stories, long stories, short stories, likely stories. They went everywhere, all through the jungle, all through Ghana, all through Africa, all throughout the world, and maybe even further. Anansi caught some of them and put them back into the box so he could share them with the rest of the Ashanti people. And every now and then, he or somebody would find a new one to share. And we're still finding them to this very day.
And that's the story of Anansi and the Story Box from Ghana.
Ooh, I like that story. We make a little reference to it in our stage production of Anansi Goes Fishing.
Yes, it is a little different. The version of it that we would make a reference to is slightly different.
But you will get to see Nyame, the sky god.
Yes.
And, of course, Anansi makes an appearance in Anansi Goes Fishing. So we do have a lot of fun with that story.
And this story, you may have noticed, has certain similarities to the Greek myths of Pandora and Prometheus. And also it has a certain similarity to the Tar Baby, which is a story that came over with the slaves to America.
And I noticed another one.
What's
it's
that?
Similar to Into the Woods.
Kind of, yeah. Always loved the musical. We saw it on Broadway many years ago with the original cast, and we've loved it ever since.
Very enjoyable.
Yes.
So, like I said, we have got some programs coming up this June. You can catch the show in Siloam Springs,
Arkansas.
Rogers,
Arkansas.
Bentonville,
Arkansas.
Yellville,
Arkansas.
Mountain Home,
Arkansas.
Beebe,
Arkansas.
Walnut Ridge,
Arkansas.
Jonesboro,
Arkansas.
Forest City,
Arkansas.
Hot Springs,
Arkansas.
and Eudora.
Arkansas.
Whew, those are all the Arkansas ones.
And that's almost all of June, except then on the 29th, we're in North Carolina.
June 29th, we are in High Point, North Carolina. From June 9th to June 25th, we will be in Arkansas. Then North Carolina, and then
Delaware.
every single library in Delaware
Yes.
will be hosting an activated story theater show.
Yay!
So, Delaware, you are being highly activated
You're going
this
to be
summer.
very activated, yes.
We are looking forward to that. We will
Glad
be
to go back. We've done many of these libraries in the past, some of them several times, but we have never done all of them in one summer, in 1 month before, especially.
Right. So that will be from July 6th through July 30th. Also, there will be 5 programs in Maryland in July 14th, 15th, and 16th. We'll be in the Ocean City area with shows there. So check our website. It's really too many to list individually. activatedstorytheater.com/schedule.html, or just go to activatedstorytheater.com and you will find our schedule there. So look forward to seeing somebody this summer, seeing you especially this summer at one of the Activated Story Theater shows.
Thank you very much, and stay activated.
Yes, we'll talk to you next month.
Activated Story Theater is committed to bringing fun, educational shows to schools and libraries nationwide. On stage, we use physical comedy, American Sign Language, imaginative props, and a giant, oversized book to bring multicultural folktales to life. For booking information, check out our website, activatedstorytheater.com, where you can also find out when the activated actors will be performing near you, read a story, or order one of our audio CDs. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or listen on Stitcher. We look forward to your comments and folktale suggestions. Stay activated. Until next time.